Well, with 2 weeks remaining in the game, crunch time has come, and big moves are definitely starting to be made. Hey guys, it's Cameron for this week of Big Brother 18, episodes 35 through 37. And guys, we are almost there, and I can't believe it, but we're almost there. There's only 2 weeks left of Big Brother, and with that, big moves, like I said, do need to be made. And I have to say that this week, it definitely wasn't, it wasn't the best weeks, but it was a really good week overall. I really did enjoy the way this week was done. I think definitely a lot better than last week, which really didn't give us a lot of anything. As we know, Nicole really, just in retrospective, wasn't a great HOH. But let's get into this week. I have a lot more to say, a lot more stuff to talk about, and let's just get right into it. So, of course, we start off at the end of last week's HOH comp, which I hate these kind of comps. I really do. I am not a fan of the egg comps where it takes like 4 hours to get an egg through something. It's just annoying. I don't really see what the point of it is, and again, I know like once you get in a house it makes more sense why, but to me, I just don't really understand why they do it. I mean, a lot of the competitions are either for two reasons. One, to test their strength, to test their skills, or it's just for entertainment purposes. And for this one, I don't really know why they made this one, in the way they did. I just really don't think this comp does much of anything. I'm not really a big fan of it, and I really did not like Nicole's egg puns. I thought they were really stupid and just really ridiculous. It seemed like this was just her trying to distract certain people, but I really wasn't a fan of that. But in the end, Victor is the one that ends up winning HOH, which I thought was very interesting to see. I really am happy that he did get HOH, because when Victor's HOH, he actually does do some big things. And I gotta say, I really do have to compliment Victor for the way he handled himself this week. Because the difference between Nicole's HOH and Victor's HOH is that Nicole was HOH, she set a target, she did absolutely nothing. She just chilled in the HOH bedroom until, and just messed around with Corey or whatever until it was time to make a decision. Victor, however, really did do a great job, I think, in really satisfying everyone. That's something I think Victor has done very well. I do think he's latched onto Nicole and Corey a bit, but other than that, I honestly can't really default his game for that, because, I mean, he's made alliance with them, and it makes sense why he trusts them, obviously, because they kept him safe. They didn't, put him on the block or anything, and with that, especially the fact that the dude's already, left 2 times, and now he's back a 3rd time, I can totally understand why he wants to be close to them, because he does want to have those allies. He wants to know that he's working with people he can trust, and I like the way that was done here. But with that, that means he does have to target a duo. And James and Natalie know very quickly that they're probably going to be nominated. And I have to say, I did like the way they handled James and Natalie. However, there was a lot of editing on Natalie's part, and I'll get into that in a second, but let's first talk about sort of like the demise of James and Natalie, because I think we definitely do see this week that James is kind of starting to take the hint. He really is. At first it seems that way, because they're both calling each other best friends. It doesn't really seem like they're in necessarily a showmance anymore. They're soulmates, but in the sense that they're friends, and I do think that was handled well this week. I think they definitely got that point across pretty well, the way that was done. And I definitely did feel bad for James and Natalie, obviously, because I do like their relationship, and I do like the way that they've handled it for the most part. Even though a lot of it's been a lot of manipulation on both of their parts, I do think that it's been one of the highlights of the season, because that's one of the only showmances that's actually been a showmance. Nicole and Corey is not a showmance. Zakiya and Pauly certainly weren't a showmance. This actually was, and I honestly did kind of feel bad for them, I have to say, and I think they handled that stuff pretty well. But what I also did like is what ends up happening on Wednesday's episode. There's not a ton to talk about, though, on Sundays, because a lot of it's just James and Natalie. James is asking Natalie straight out, are you only with me because I like you? And I don't think that's necessarily true on Natalie's part. I think she definitely does like James, just not in the way he likes her. James sees her as his rock, pretty much. This is someone that he wants to be with forever. He thinks that this is someone that is going to change his future and someone that he just wants to get together with right now. Natalie, I think, sees him as more of, something that she's going to try out. She sees him as a wait and see kind of, like, she gets out of here, maybe goes on a date, sees how that goes. I think that's how she sees him. So they definitely don't see each other in the same way. But I think it kind of makes sense why they're in the showmance that they are. I think overall, they portrayed it pretty well. But other than that, that's really all that happens on Sunday. You see that they decide, Victor does put up James and Natalie. I thought he was very fair with it, though. Like, the way he talked about it, saying that, he cares about both of them. At this point, he just needs to get rid of big targets. I think was a good way of not making himself a target, not making himself someone that anyone would want to go after. I thought that was definitely well done. Definitely really did think that, like I said, he really did handle himself well with that. And I think overall, Sunday's episode, while there wasn't a ton going on, was a pretty good episode because, like I said, Victor did set a goal, but he did a lot of legwork, especially as we see in Wednesday's episode. Now, to say right off the bat, there was a lot of stuff in Wednesday night's episode that I was not a fan of at all. I think Wednesday night's episode was very badly edited because of the way they portrayed things with James and Natalie. The way they portrayed it was completely wrong. I'll tell you why. Because the show tried to victimize James. And I'm not trying to bullshit this. Like, I'm not just saying this because I like Natalie and that I wanted her to go really far and that I'm not really a fan of James. I'm not saying it for that reason. I'm saying that Natalie is not the way they portrayed her on the show. There's a lot of stuff that they really didn't show that I wish they did show. Because after James and Natalie were nominated, pretty much they're kind of just in a very weird spot because James trying to figure out if they really should be together, if they do have a future together, what's really going on there. He's not really sure what's going on. I did like what Victor did, is that Victor decides that he's going to try to get closer with James, and basically what he decides to do is he goes to James, and he tells James, straight out that he's not the target, that if Natalie does go, that he wants to start something with James, because him and James have been close since the whole alliance, the Executives Alliance, if you remember, with Paulie. They've been close since then, and they really have still been just as close. So I like that he did try to patch things up with James. I thought that actually was a very good strategy. The problem is James and all this, because James starts to get very increasingly paranoid, and James starts to think that, holy shit, Natalie could be campaigning against me. Natalie could have thrown my name under the bus. Now, I do get what Paul did. I do understand. I know, Paul, I kind of understand that he basically realized that Natalie did in fact know the game, and that she wasn't as dumb as she let on. Yeah, that was eventually going to come out. I mean, that's something that was going to happen, and I don't know, I didn't know when it was going to happen, but I knew it was definitely going to happen soon, so I'm not surprised that did come out, because Natalie's been playing, she's been acting like she doesn't know the game, when we've seen all season that she very clearly does know the game, and that's something that we definitely have seen. But the James of it all is the one I thought that just created way too much drama, because why would Natalie throw her name under the bus? Why would she do any of that? I mean, it just doesn't really make sense to me. Why would she have done that? How could that have happened? I just don't really understand why James was so suddenly thinking that Natalie was betraying him, that Natalie was against him. And I wouldn't be as pissed, because James goes to Natalie, and Natalie said straight out, if you're working with Nicole and Corey, do not talk to me again. And I think this was Natalie's way of trying to motivate him. I think what she was really trying to say, and the show didn't really show this, is that Nicole and Corey cannot be trusted. They won't have your back. Don't work with them. That was just her way of saying it. James took it to heart. He took it to heart. He thought of what she said, and I think really what Natalie was trying to say, like I said, is just don't, go with them. They will definitely target you. But what she doesn't know is that Nicole and James have had some sort of secret Final Two deal. I mean, there's this rumor going around, because Nicole literally said on the live feeds that her and James have been very close since day one, so people are starting to think that Nicole and James have had a Final Two. And honestly, it makes a lot of sense. They played a very similar game. They've never nominated each other. They've never crossed each other. This is the first time that James has been nominated. So it kind of makes sense why they think that. I mean, Nicole was crying about James for a reason, so that definitely does make sense. But even though James thinks that Natalie... But then we get to the POV. Let's talk about that real quick. The POV... Again, this was something that I actually did like, because they tried to change it up a little bit. I thought it was kind of cool. I thought there was a little too much MacGyver promoting, especially James literally saying in his speech for the power veto to go watch MacGyver and when it's on. I thought that was really dumb. But I did like the way it was done. I thought it was a little bit different. I thought it was a nice change of pace from some of the other POVs we've had. I thought that one was kind of cool. But Corey, for some reason, ends up winning. I'll tell you exactly why. Production, Nicole literally said on the live feeds, I'm not making this up, Nicole said on the live feeds that production told her where everything was, and I'm pretty sure if they told Nicole, they'd tell Corey as well. So Corey, I'm pretty sure won just because of the fact that production told him to. Because Corey, there's no way that Corey is that good in a mental competition. We've seen before that Corey sucks at these kind of competitions. How he's doing so all of a sudden, it's not luck, it's production. That's really what's happening. It's not purely luck. It's not that Corey's suddenly smart. It's that production is getting him to win these things. I don't know why production would choose Corey of all people, but for some reason they are. I mean, it's really weird, but Corey ends up winning POV. Natalie and James, they both are staying on the block, and even though James said that he would not campaign for Natalie, he still does. I mean, that's what's so annoying about James is he says these things, but yet he still gravitates toward Natalie. I honestly would have preferred if James would have just betrayed, got away from Natalie, and say, I don't want to be with you anymore. That, I think, would have been actually a little bit more interesting, but he still, for some reason, latches on to her. And I think that Natalie did genuinely care about James. I think we definitely do see that, but for some reason he continues to stay close to her, and I don't really know why he did that. It just didn't really make sense as to why he wanted to stay close to her. It didn't, especially the fact that he thought she was going to campaign against him. That just didn't really make a lot of sense to me. But that's really everything talking about on Wednesday's episode. Now let's get into the eviction episode. So obviously, Natalie and James are not really in a good spot. James thinks that Natalie threw his name under the bus. Natalie's trying to tell him that she didn't. And she's actually very excited to leave. Why? Because Paul was constantly tormenting her, saying that she's terrible at this game, that she couldn't fool anyone. And I get what Paul was trying to do. Paul, I really do feel needs to keep his mouth shut, though. Because Paul, this is something that I said that this is going to get Paul in trouble. If Paul keeps just talking shit about everyone, and when there's less people in the house, things are going to start to come out more, especially when you're in a Final Four with the majority of the house. I mean, stuff's going to come out, and I think Paul's really got to be careful what he says going into this Final Five. It's just not really a good idea, I think, for him to continue to talk shit about everyone. But either way, Natalie and James, we don't really know what's happening there. She's excited to leave. James doesn't really know why. He thinks it's because of him for some reason. I don't like that James made everything about him. He loves to talk about himself, if you guys haven't noticed, but James really does love to talk about himself, and it's something that really does greatly annoy me, that he loves to make everything about himself, and it really wasn't about him. I think Natalie was just eager to get out of there because she knew she was going to leave, and she was excited to see, Michelle and the jury. I think that's really what it was. I'm not trying to justify what Natalie did. I mean, her getting excited about leaving, I don't really understand. But they're basically, he's campaigning for her to leave. She's campaigning for, he's campaigning for him to leave. She's campaigning for herself to leave. You definitely do see that. And in the end, Natalie does end up leaving. But again, I do think it was a good move. And it is definitely sad to see Natalie go. I mean, she, for me, was the underdog of this season. She was the one that we wanted to win. She was the one that never really got in power. And then the week where she did, she started to lose a lot of fans. I think, again, it's just because the Natalie underdog's a lot better than the Natalie in power. I think when she was in power, she just didn't really know what to do. Wasn't the best week for her to be HOH, and I think that definitely did make her a target. But I still really did like Natalie as a player. I still probably would vote her for America's favorite player. Sorry, James, I know you think that America's on your side, but America's not on your side. And Natalie, I probably would vote for America's favorite player. And I did like her speech, too. I like that she said she genuinely does care about James, and that James and her, they're soulmates, but in a friend sort of way. I thought that was a good way to end things. Sad to see Natalie go, but that's basically how we end things for Thursday. So, now, like I said, we have 2 weeks left at this point, and we are now to the point where things are going to get a lot less. So, we have the Sunday night episode, regular nomination stuff, but then Tuesday someone's leaving, and Wednesday someone's leaving. I think Paul probably is going to be the one to leave. I'm not talking about who ended up being HOH or whatever, but I think he's probably going to be the one to leave. But I have to say, if this whole rigged Nicole James thing is true, I'm really going to be pissed off because I want Victor to win. I think there's no reason why he shouldn't win. He's been fighting his way. He's gone out of the house 2 times and he's still there somehow. You just can't get rid of him, and I feel like that should be enough for a reason why he should win. I mean, I always say that you shouldn't have the person that comes back be someone that should win, but in this case, I really do think he can win if he really does try, but we'll have to see what happens with that. Overall, guys, I don't have really much else to say. I did enjoy this week overall. I understand why Natalie had to leave. Obviously sad to see her go, but I don't like that James was so inherently against her and thought that she was plotting against him. Just didn't really make sense why James felt this way. But that's in my review. Hope you guys enjoyed. Let me know what you guys thought of this episode and this week overall. We only got 2 weeks left, thank God. Like I said, I really am just waiting for this to end. I mean, as sad as it was seeing Natalie leave, I'm just waiting for this to end at this point. But that's it for my review. Hope you guys enjoyed. We'll see you guys in my next video, which will be for the series premiere of the new FX show, Better Things, and we'll see you guys for that. Okay, bye.